Thank you all for being here. My name is Robert Garcia. I'm a member of Congress from California, a Democrat. I'm here with three other members of Congress, Congress members Maxwell Frost, Congress members Ansari and Dexter, as well as Chris Newman, who is the lawyer for the Ábrego García family. And so we're very grateful to be here, and we're grateful that Mr. Newman's here with us as well. We're all going to say some brief remarks. So we're here in El Salvador demanding the release of Kilmar Ábrego García. We think it's incredibly important that the law in the United States is followed. Our Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, to be clear, has said that Mr. Ábrego García should be returned to the United States. That's been affirmed by other courts in the U.S. And we also want to be clear that the Trump administration has admitted publicly that he was sent here by mistake. So the administration has said that he was here by mistake. The Supreme Court has said, bring him back to the United States. And that's what we're here to do. We're grateful of Senator Van Hollen's work leading up to this moment, but we're here to ensure that he is safe, that he's brought home. And we've had meetings this morning with the U.S. Embassy and the team here on the ground. We're having additional meetings here with human rights groups that are here on the ground and other individuals. We've also spoken to the Ábrego García family and had a briefing from the family. And we want to be just very clear that he needs to come home. This is about due process. Every person, even if they're an immigrant, a migrant to the U.S., seeking asylum, they're on some type of temporary status, they deserve a day in court and due process. And that's why we're here, to ensure that the President of the United States follows the orders of the Supreme Court. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Congressman Frost.
Look, Robert said why we're here, and we're here because we believe that the rule of law should be followed by everyone, including the President of the United States. And we're in a situation where the administration has sent someone here to El Salvador by mistake, admitted to it. A Supreme Court decision has come down to say you need to facilitate the return of this man back to the United States so he can go through due process. And the administration is saying, no, we're not going to do it. In fact, we just had a meeting earlier today with the embassy, and we left that meeting with absolutely zero indication that this administration has is going to facilitate or wants to facilitate the return of Ábrego García back to the United States so he can go through due process. But we got to be clear, this isn't just about him. This is also about every single person in the United States. The Constitution applies to all people in our country. Due process applies to all people in our country. It's one of the things that sets our country apart from other places across the entire world. And so we're worried, of course, we demand the release of Ábrego García, but we're also worried about our own constituents. We represent people across the entire nation. I'm from Orlando, Florida. A community filled with immigrants, a diverse community. And we're getting hundreds and hundreds of calls. People saying, go to El Salvador, do something. Do something about the fact that the President of the United States in the Oval Office is talking about sending U.S. citizens here to El Salvador, to the prison here. And so we don't want to wait till things get worse. We're here to build off of the work of Senator Van Hollen, who heroically came down here and showed his family and the world for the first time since he was taken down here that he is alive, that he was alive, and he was well at that time. And so what we want to know is, where is he at now? What is his condition now? His family deserves to know. The people deserve to know. But we're also here to make a statement that this cannot be allowed and isn't allowed in our country. And people should know we're not the first here. We're not going to be the last members of Congress to be here in El Salvador fighting and demanding the return of Ábrego García and a lot of the folks who were sent here without due process at all. It is one of the core tenets of our country and our Constitution, and we're going to fight like hell to make sure he comes back home to have due process there, but that this doesn't happen to anybody else. And with that,
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Yasamin Ansari. I represent Phoenix, Arizona. I am here with my colleagues to demand that Donald Trump facilitate the safe return home for Mr. Kilmar Ábrego García. The facts of this case are abundantly clear. Mr. Garcia was abducted. He is a father. He is a husband. He's a union member. His union leadership is advocating for him through the building trade, saying that he needs to come home. And he was wrongly deported here to a foreign prison in El Salvador. And our government has admitted that mistake. The Supreme Court of the United States, the highest court in the land, has said his return home must be facilitated by the United States government. So we are here today to demand that he is returned as soon as possible. We had a meeting this morning with the embassy here in El Salvador, and from what we have heard, there is no reason for me to believe that our administration, the Trump administration, is doing anything to facilitate his safe return home, and that is simply unacceptable. It's against the Constitution, and it defies what we hold so dear in our country, which is due process and the rule of law. And as my colleagues have said, there are so many others. I represent Arizona's 3rd district, an extremely diverse district where at our university, 50 foreign students had their visas revoked unexpectedly. We have Afghan refugees who've received notice that they need to return home. We have people who have been detained, a veteran detained and deported by ICE, a veteran who served 2 tours in Afghanistan. So this is not just about Kilmar. We need Kilmar to come home, but we are so concerned that if this is allowed to fly, that the Trump administration will be emboldened to continue. And since we were not able to get the answers we need today from the embassy, we have written a letter just as of 30 minutes ago to Secretary of State Marco Rubio demanding daily proof of life for Mr. Ábrego García, demanding he has access to counsel, and of course, finally, demanding his safe return home. And we will not stop until this is complete. And with that, I will hand it over to my colleague, Rep. Maxine Dexter.
Thank you. So I am Congresswoman Maxine Dexter from Oregon's 3rd Congressional District. I am very proud to represent the city of Portland. And the city of Portland and the people in the surrounding areas have made it clear. They want me here fighting for the rule of law, fighting for their constitutional right to due process. They are scared. They want to make sure that we use our power that they have given us to stand up for Mr. Ábrego García and everyone else who has been denied their constitutional right. I am a mother. The idea that Kilmar was detained from in front of his 5-year-old son is heartbreaking to me. I am a physician. I take care of people. Democrats, Republicans, it doesn't matter. I take care of people. And that is what we are not doing. We are not, as a country, protecting the health and welfare of people and their rights under the Constitution. And it is incumbent upon me as a leader and as an elected representative to stand up for the rule of law. And with that, I will turn it over, speaking of the rule of law, to Mr. Chris Newman, the legal counsel for the family of Ábrego García.
My name is Chris Newman. I'm a Los Angeles-based lawyer. I am here today on behalf of Kilmar Ábrego García's family and as their legal counsel to demand his access to rights. I came here to El Salvador, and I should say first and foremost, I want to thank the congressional delegation standing behind me for their bravery, for their leadership, and for their action in coming down here despite the uncertainty to try to liberate Mr. Ábrego García. I came here with 3 distinct goals in mind. Number 1, to ensure that Mr. Ábrego García is in fact alive today. Number 2, to make sure that he is healthy and safe. And then number 3, to ensure that he has access to counsel and to his family as is required by international law. We know nothing of Mr. Ábrego García's whereabouts since the staged photo op on Thursday with Senator Van Hollen. We demand to immediately know where he is and to have access to him. Unfortunately, we are no longer able to trust the representations about this case made either by the United States government or by the Salvadoran government. And indeed, this case is about many things, but above all, it is about truth versus lies. And there have been a lot of mistruths that have been told about Mr. Ábrego García and his family, a lot of defamation coming from the highest office in our country and the most powerful office in the world. And I am grateful to all of you, the reporters here in El Salvador, for coming to help us excavate the truth of this case. And the truth is that Mr. Ábrego is an innocent man who has been deprived of his basic human rights.
also want to just be very clear that in our discussions at the embassy, but also in a letter that we have sent to Secretary Rubio and to the U.S. ambassador, that we're here because we want Kilmer released. But we also know there are other people here in these prisons that have been essentially given no due process. And we want to highlight the case of Andre Romero, who was an asylum seeker coming to the United States, who was coming to the U.S. and was abducted. He had an appointment through the asylum process that was granted by our government to seek asylum. He's 19 years old. He's a young gay man. He's a hairdresser. His family is incredibly worried. We know that he has had no gang affiliations that anyone is aware of or that they've presented in a court of law. And we have not heard from him since the abduction actually happened now weeks ago. And so there's a young 19-year-old here in an El Salvadorian prison who we need to know, and we've asked, and this is our plea to the embassy here, is to confirm that he is alive. We've asked to see him, that he's alive, or that at a minimum his attorneys can do a welfare check on his whereabouts. And that is the case of Andre Romero, very important for us in the United States and hopefully here as well. En español, más quiero decir, mi nombre es Roberto García, estoy acá con 3 otros congresistas Maxwell Frost, Yasamin Ansari y Maxine Dexter, todos acá de California, de Florida, de Arizona y también de Oregon en los Estados Unidos. Estamos acá porque estamos diciendo al presidente Donald Trump que él tiene que regresar a este momento a Kilmer Ábrego García a los Estados Unidos. La Corte Suprema de los Estados Unidos 9-0 ha dicho al presidente que él tiene que regresar a Kilmer a los Estados Unidos. Otros cortes en los Estados Unidos también han dicho que él tiene que regresar. Todo eso es bien importante. Y déjame decir también otra cosa. La administración de Donald Trump también ha dicho que ellos lo mandaron acá y fue un accidente, que él no iba que venir acá a El Salvador. Fue un accidente, él tiene que regresar y esa es la razón que nosotros estamos acá y vamos a venir nosotros y otros hasta que Kilmer y otra gente que está acá en El Salvador regresen a los Estados Unidos. So con eso vamos a abrir para any questions. So we'll take any questions that anyone can answer. Are there any questions in English or Spanish?
¿Cuál es la agenda que tienen? ¿Con quiénes se han reunido y con quiénes se van a reunir?
So, vamos a decir a la agenda, como está pasando, no vamos a decir todo. Hemos tenido un classified conversación con el embajador acá de los Estados Unidos a El Salvador. Hemos hablado con diferentes gente de la embajía. Hemos hablado con la familia de Kilmer Ábrego García, que el abogado ha hecho acá para nosotros. Y también estamos hablando con otros grupos que están trabajando en las áreas de human rights y de que están acá en El Salvador también. Y estamos ready para, si la embajada dice que podemos ir a ver a Kilmer o a Andre, que estén bien, también estamos para asistir a hacer eso.
Well, and yeah, what I would say about this is they're appealing this decision. It's going to go back up to the Supreme Court once again, and but part of this is the courts, but part of it is the people, and it's the whole reason we're here. Is the people have to continue to ensure that his story is in the news, that we don't forget about this. Part of what the Trump administration does is they do so much that they try to make sure people forget about them breaking the law, forget about them completely ignoring the Supreme Court. And that's part of the reason we're here today. First and foremost, we want him home. Secondly, we want to see him, know he's alive and know that he's well. But also, we want to make sure that this story doesn't go away. There's going to be an end to this story, and the end we want is him home going through due process.
Right.
The book is not closed on this, and the book is not closed on our Constitution and our laws, no matter what Donald Trump says. And so that's part of the reason we're here. The other thing I want to say, too, that I think is important to mention is we formally requested to see him today. And we were told after at our meeting that the government here has denied our request to see him because this is not an official trip, something that both Robert Garcia and I requested from Chairman Comer of the committee that we sit on, which is the oversight committee of the federal government. And so again, we're going to continue to do this no matter what. And like I said before, we're not going to be the last members of Congress and senators that are here to make sure that he's released and that our country is following our laws.
That's right.
Have you had any other contact with the Salvadoran government? We saw President Bukele trolling essentially Senator Van Hollen. What comments or interaction have you had with the government?
We have some additional meetings this afternoon, which we're not going to get into at this moment. What I will say is that I think we've been very clear that the United States Supreme Court is demanding that the Trump administration work to bring back Ábrego García. We know that our president has a strong relationship with the president of El Salvador and certainly our allies. And we have no doubt that if Donald Trump wants Ábrego García back in the United States, that Ábrego García would right now be back in the United States. This is on Donald Trump. Our president needs to bring and follow the orders of the Supreme Court. I don't know if anybody else wants to add to that.
I do want to add that what our government is doing, paying for people to be imprisoned in El Salvador, was with the guise of these are criminals. And that has not been proven. You cannot prove criminality beyond a doubt without due process. So we are using taxpayer dollars in the United States to break our constitutional laws and put people in prison on the taxpayers. This is without a doubt illegal, immoral, and we must continue to stand firm up for the rule of law and for the rights of people. And I hope that we are the first of many to come here until this is resolved in our courts.
We're gonna have Congressman Dexter respond. I think it's really important for the people of El Salvador to know that if you look at recent polling in the United States that just happened 2 days ago, a strong majority of Americans believe that we should not be sending migrants without due process to El Salvador or any other foreign jail. Majority of Americans believe that what's happening here in El Salvador, the American people believe what's happening here in El Salvador is wrong and should be stopped. And I think people need to understand and know that.
Migrants who were deported from the U.S. as well. Bloomberg reported 90% of them didn't have a criminal record in the U.S. I hear a lot of talk about Kilmar. What have you been doing so far for these other Venezuelan migrants?
I'll say that is also why we're here and the reason why we think this situation is so urgent, because it isn't just about Kilmar. It is the fact that our government is relentlessly going after any immigrant that's trying to come to the United States or is in the United States without any regard for due process. So while Kilmar's case has been highlighted and we want to see him freed, as my colleague said, we want to see Andre Romero freed. We want to see those Venezuelans. If they have not been convicted of a crime, they should not be in prison here. So this is about all of it. This is about due process for everyone. And it is just completely egregious that the United States government had these legal processes set up, like the CBP-1 app. People trusted us. Our allies and folks coming into our country trusted that those systems would work, and we turned our backs on them and instead illegally deported them off to a prison where they have no answers, no access to counsel, no anything. So we want to see due process for all of those.
No sabemos mucho porque todas las pruebas o las acusaciones eran en secreto. Por eso los cortes dijo que era inocente. No hay ningún corte, ni en nivel local, ni los agentes federales que concluyeron que fue algo con respecto a un delito o cualquier cosa relacionado a cualquier pandilla. Lo que sí conocemos es que la policía o el policía quien arrestó al señor Ábrego, él mismo un mes después fue despedido de su trabajo y luego declaró culpable para un crimen. Él. Entonces, en otras palabras, conocemos que la policía quien arrestó a Kilmar era criminal y conocemos que Kilmar es inocente.
Del señor Ábrego García.
Sí.
¿Qué dicen esos antecedentes penales?
No voy a decir comento, pero yo puedo decir que no hay ningún cargo que ha sido llevado a cabo. Nada diciendo que fue. No, fue nada más acusaciones de secreto atrás que un policía que era corrupto. No solamente corrupto, pero criminal. Un criminal compartiendo información confidencial con una prostituta. Un mes después del arresto. Y yo quiero decir que Kilmar era un jornalero buscando trabajo pacíficamente en un Home Depot. Siempre hay gente en las esquinas. A veces hay criminales. Señor Kilmar no era criminal. Él es miembro de un sindicato. No es un miembro de pandilla. Y yo quiero decir otra vez, hay muchas mentiras que muchas personas en los Estados Unidos están diciendo para justificar esta acción que no solamente violó los derechos constitucionales, pero también violó los derechos internacionales y derechos humanos de señor Ábrego García. Este es un caso de importancia no solamente para nuestro pueblo en los Estados Unidos, pero también para el pueblo salvadoreño también.